This 1/4 inch thick Luan to build the top disc and the bottom disc. They're going to be held together with these dowel rods right here that I'll chop up. They're 7/16 diameter. And then the whole thing is going to hang on this little light socket fixture I picked up at Menards for 10 bucks, which I thought was a great deal. It has a really cool cord on it. And then basically I'll have the Luan bottom and top with the dowel rods, and in between is going to be a bunch of layers of cardboard. And I've been saving that up for a long time, so I have a bunch of those as well. So anyway, this thing should turn out pretty cool, and I don't think it'll be too difficult of a project, so let me get started. I went ahead and drew out my rings on the Luan so I could get them cut out here in just a minute, but I want to explain the layout because it's actually pretty simple. So I decided to make the whole thing 14 inches diameter. So instead of just using my compass to draw out a 14-inch diameter circle, I wanted to know a couple specific spots for some mounting points. So the very first thing I did was actually draw a 14-inch square. And I just used a carpenter square to make it really easy. Alright, so once that was drawn out, then I went from corner to corner and drew some cross lines to find center. And then I set up my compass to be stuck in center and just touch the outer edge of the square to draw my outer ring circle. Alright, then I decided I wanted my ring to be 1.5 inches wide, so I reset my compass to come in 1.5 inches, drew a second circle, and my ring's done. But the cool thing about these diagonal lines is then I could use those for mounting points. So since this is 1.5 inches wide, I measured in 3/4 inch, put a little mark there. And I did that in all 4 spots, and that is where those dowel rods will get mounted. So now they're all nice and evenly spaced, and that's just a super simple way to find it. So the top ring is laid out exactly the same way, except it also has some spokes. So it was a 14-inch square, did the diagonal cross marks, the outer ring, come in 1.5 inches, also made the little points to mount the dowel rods. But then to do the spokes, I had to figure out a few things. So first off, I need the whole piece to be mounted right in the center, and it has to hang off of this little light fixture I have. So I measured the inner piece right here. It's 1.5 inches. So I drew an 1.5 inch circle off center using my little compass. All right, so once it was drawn, then I kind of decided how wide to make everything else. And since my outer ring was 1.5 inches, I decided just to make everything else 1.5 inches as well. So what I did is, with these diagonal lines that I originally drew, I measured 3/4 inch that way, 3/4 inch this way, was able to draw lines. All right, did it this direction as well. There's my spokes, really easy. But I needed some strength right here, because if these lines just come right to the circle, I mean, there's absolutely no support. So just to keep it simple, I did the same thing. I just made this space right here 1.5 inches as well. So I just reset my compass to come out. So it was an additional 1.5 inches, and then made the ring there. And then you can kind of see I did a little fidgeting with sizes and all that, but I erased everything except for the actual good parts. So the center right here is going to get cut out. These 4 little Simon Says looking spots will get cut out, and then everything else except for the ring and the spokes. And then right here will just be the ring. And then the cool thing about this bottom ring is I can use it as a template for all of my cardboard pieces. So once it's cut out, I can just lay it on cardboard, trace around it real quick, and cut all those pieces out, and it should make this go a lot quicker. So let me go ahead, take this outside, drill a couple holes, cut it out, and then I can start making my cardboard pieces. Alright, so I pre-drilled holes through the rings and into the dowel rods, and I screwed it together with some number 6 by 1 inch wood screws just to test fit it. Nice and lightweight, sturdy, it doesn't twist on me, so this is going to work out really nice. So now that I know it works, I'll go ahead and take it apart again, and then I will trace out a bunch of cardboard rings using the bottom ring here as my template. I also need to go ahead and mark all the little spots for the holes, and then I'll probably drill out the holes in the cardboard. I think that'll work, so that they'll slide over the 7/16 dowel rods just fine. And I don't know how many I put on there, but I'll put a bunch, and there'll be a little bit of space in between them, but it should look pretty cool. But since the wood rings, you know, are not cardboard, they are going to look a little different, and since my cuts are not so great, they're a little chipped up, I think I'm going to paint them just to help them stand out a little better, make everything look like it was done on purpose, and should be pretty cool. Then all I got to do is put the little thingy up here and hang it up, and it's ready to go. So let me go ahead and start doing that. Check it out. Here it is, all finished. Got it hanging in the corner of the living room, right above the edge of the couch, sort of our little reading area. It's hanging off a piece of pipe that we've had up here for a different light fixture. I think that's like 12 inches long, really easy to put together, and it worked out well. It's right next to our clock collection, which is bright and colorful, but one color I did not really see up there was this sort of toothpastey, minty, aqua green color. That's why I chose it, but of course you could go with any color you wanted, or even no color, just leave it wood for more of a natural look. And the circle shape itself was a really simple layout, and I like the sort of modern beehive look it has. But you could probably go with a square or a triangle, or maybe even some oddball shape, as long as when it hung it was balanced and it didn't hang crooked. And a couple dimensions I should mention is that it's 14 inches diameter. My dowel rods are 12 inches long, and I cut 24 discs on this. But of course you could make it any size you wanted and use as many or as little discs as you wanted. Probably the most time consuming part was actually cutting the cardboard, but it wasn't too bad. I put on some TV and it went by fairly quickly. And a couple of details I like are the little chrome finish washers underneath the screws. That just adds that little tiny finishing detail, bumps it up a notch, makes it look a little bit nicer. Also, when I was cutting the cardboard, I tried to use as much of the printing as I could so that it had that cool kind of reclaimed, recycled look. And then also, because it's cut by hand and because all the holes were poked by hand, it, you know, nothing exactly lines up 100% perfect, so there's some dips and dives and waves to it, which is kind of cool. It gives it a little bit of a natural look. If this was an art critique, you'd say it has movement, which is a nice way of putting that it, you know, it's not perfect and it looks wonky, but I think it turned out pretty cool. And here, let me turn it on real quick. You can see that it shoots out light to the walls. It looks really cool at nighttime too. There's really cool patterns cast on the wall, and it still shoots light down and through the bottom. And I found that it wasn't overly bright, which is good for a reading area. Our other light was a little bit overbearing, but this one's just right. So anyway, that is how my little cardboard lampshade thing here turned out. Pretty cool little project. It's one of them ones I've been meaning to build for a long time. I've been saving cardboard. My wife's been getting on to me about using it up, and I finally did, and I think it turned out